Yeah. Quinn on the mic, I'ma lace it with truth. Phillip in the back, calling plays from the booth. Podcast vibes, broadcasting the word. Sharper than the two-edged sword. Every verse heard on my arm strap. Shield tight like a glove. Faith in my veins, powered by God's love. Ephesians 6:11, yeah, it's the drill. Put on the full armor, stand firm in his will. Armor up, we don't back down. Shield of faith when the world comes around. Sword in my hand, I'm ready to fight. Jesus is the captain leading through the night. Yeah, sports in the spirit, it's a game of endurance. Training in faith, no room for deterrence. Quinn and Phillip, tag team for the kingdom. Breaking down walls till the world can see them. Helmet of salvation, blocking the lies. Belt of truth, yeah, I'm suited to rise. Yeah, shoes fitted tight, spreading peace while I step. I run this race with Jesus, no regret. You feel the heat, that's the fire of the spirit. Voices in the dark, but I don't even hear it. Face my defense, prayer's my offense. Victory in Jesus, yeah, it's immense.
Welcome back to Armor Up Athletics. This is episode 32. My name is Matt Quinn, joined as always by my co-host, Phillip Leviner. What's up, Phillip?
What's going on, man? How you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. Got spring practice rolling up here in the Ville. Got recruits signing and committing daily. It's a great time to be a Cougar, but this ain't a recruiting pitch. This is Armor Up Athletics.
I hear you. I'm down here in Florida. Not quite recruiting. If you want me to, I can. But I'm just, generating some power for the world to keep the lights on, baby.
Do something to lower the light bill, and I'd appreciate it.
We're trying.
No, this is episode 32, guys. We had a topic in place. We had our verses. We had our notes ready. We are actually going to push that into next week. We had a guest that we interviewed, recorded, and after we finished, we thought that it would be best that interview take the place. I mean, we have a lot of great scripture, a lot of great stories, and a lot of great verses that we're going to jump into here on episode 32. But before we move forward, Phillip, episode 32, jersey number, ready, go.
So my guy, I'm a bruiser, so I got to go with Mr. Franco Harris from the Pittsburgh Steelers. I watched him a lot. My dad was a Cowboys fan. But Franco was that guy. He was a dog.
Franco Harris was a good player, really good player. You got a couple 32s here that we kind of brought up and mentioned. Jim Brown also really good football player. Marcus Allen, right?
Another dude.
Yeah. So I mean, you couldn't go wrong with any of those three picks. But we'll go with Franco Harris on episode 32 of Armor Up Athletics.
Sounds good to me. I liked Franco. He was so fun to watch, man. That old school toughness was just something that it's not around anymore. You had a couple guys that of his style, like Earl Campbell, and a couple guys like that. But he was so fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. Well, again, this is episode 32. We had a plan in place, so it'll give you a little sneak peek of episode 33. Episode 33 is going to be called Be Coachable. So join us next week for Be Coachable. Unless the Lord pushes us in a different direction like he did tonight, Phillip. We were blessed to be joined by a special guest. We're going to turn it over to that interview, our interview with Blake Elder. Blake played football with me at Burns High School. We graduated together. He goes into some stories of all of that. And then he ends up playing at App State and plays on the team that everybody knows about, that's even remotely familiar with sports, the team that beat Michigan.
And yet the wonderful thing about this show that I truly, truly love is the ability for God to lead us. We can script and write all we want, but there's always an audible that might be called, right? There's always a hot route that might come in place. And the beauty of that is it doesn't bother us because this is not about us. This is about God. And after that interview tonight, I think you guys are going to be thoroughly blessed with the lesson and the words that Blake's gonna give us. His words, his knowledge, the stories, not just from playing in the big house, but to his faith and his desire and his love for Jesus. It was just really, really fun to be a part of that interview. Thank you, Matt, for letting me be a part of that interview. I can't imagine you two playing in the same stadium at the same time. Again, as much as he talked about the talent that y'all had, and of course everybody knows those years at Burns were incredible, incredible runs. But just to hear the stories from you guys was really fun for me tonight too.
Yeah, awesome time. We will also be sharing some of Blake's information as we go through this show and at the end of the show and through our Facebook page as he has planted a church up in the upstate, Prevailing Church. We'll be sharing that information. So anybody in the upstate that wants to get involved and wants to visit a church, highly encourage that. And you probably will want to find a way to get there after hearing him speak. And if you can't get there, you just want to follow some good people that are going to share some good messages. Follow him and his church as he goes through this journey of planting a church that's about 6 months old at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Again, I can't say enough about him already. The sincerity, the delivery he had, you could just feel the spirit off of him. And when he prayed for us, man, obviously you love that. At the end, he asked if he could pray for me and you, which I think's absolutely amazing, and did an amazing job and truly, dug into what we needed. And just, again, I feel so blessed to be a part of this show and the people we bring on here, and it's just God working, man. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
Well, Phillip, we'll jump on into the interview with Blake Elder, Appalachian State legend, captain, starter, walk-on turned starter. Love the story of that, man. It's an
Absolutely.
amazing, amazing story. But we'll jump on over. Blake Elder. Welcome back to Armor Up Athletics. We are now joined by a very special guest, a national champion, a former teammate of mine, Blake Elder. Welcome to the show, Blake.
Glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me, Matt. Thanks, Phillip.
Yeah, man,
Hey, glad to have you on, man.
we're excited to, kind of let you share a little bit, and we got some questions lined up for you. But, we mentioned it as we advertised this thing and shared your information. National champion football background, now in the ministry. So we thought that you would be a perfect fit for us when we talk about Jesus and sports here on Armor Up Athletics. But we want to start from, kind of from the beginning. Like, how did your football journey begin, and what led you into sports and football in particular?
Man, well, my brother, Matt. My brother and he's 2 years older than me, and he got into football first. And my dad used to show us documentaries of the 49ers in the 80s. So Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, then turned over to Steve Young and Ronnie Lott, Roger Craig, all those guys. So we ended up getting 49ers jerseys, and Trey would be the quarterback. I would be the wide receiver, and I'd be kind of his dummy out there just running around for him to throw it. And that's how I picked up. We ended up playing tackle football in the backyard. I have another brother. So the three of us just out there playing whatever sport was in season. We'd be out there in the yard. And then I started playing when I was in Greer. I played in their little league. I think I was 7 years old when I first played tackle football. My dad says I was the smallest one out there. In the first play, I came up from my defensive back position to tackle somebody, and he ran me over. I flipped up on my head, but he said the next play I stuck my nose back in there and got him back. So he thought I might be in trouble after that first play. But I just loved it, man. The competitive nature of it, the fact that it was something I did with my brothers. You get a love for it that way. And then of course, how locker rooms and teams go. The brotherhood is just really what you love the most about it all.
Man, I love that. And you mentioned Trey. Obviously, Trey was going to come up at some point in tonight's conversation. So, moving forward into your career, you go to App State and you get to play with Trey at a next level, right? You get to win national championships and go through all those things. Like, what did it mean to play at App State? And more importantly, what did it mean to win those types of games with Trey?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing, man. Well, my story, Matt. I was a backup in high school, and man, I played with a bunch of really good guys like you. You signed with Vanderbilt out of college, and then transferred to out of high school, and then transferred to PC. And had a great career there. And so I played, I think Jamar Anderson went to Coastal, Ronaldo Hunter, he went to App State. We just had some dudes. Freddie Brown went to South Carolina. And so I was a backup. And on top of that, I had major kidney surgery in between my junior and senior year. So I wasn't medically cleared to play until after the 10th game, my senior year in high school. So I'm sharing that. And I was a part of championship teams. We won state championship in high school. And I think that's where that mentality started to get built in me. And I went against some dudes too, in practice. So I developed. I didn't think I was a bad player. I enjoyed playing, but I didn't have any scholarships. I didn't have any options on the table. But my brother Trey, he was Mr. Football in South Carolina his senior year of high school football, and he was playing at App State. Went up to their games on Saturdays while I was finishing up high school. Loved the place, starting to build relationships. It's like, man, I want to continue trying to win some championships. So our senior year of high school, Trey and those guys won their first national championship. It's like, man, I want to go be a part of that, and so they were very gracious to me because of the respect they had for Trey. Trey opened up the door for me just to have the opportunity to have a chance. And then after a year, I got put on full scholarship at Appalachian State the Saturday before school started my next year. I was redshirted in 06. We won the national championship again. I played scout team all that year and developed, going up against some dudes. And then my dad had told me he'll pay for 1 year's tuition, but if I don't get a scholarship, I got to move back to South Carolina. Fall camp, I'm just all in through the summer. I don't have a promise of being on the roster at all. Have a really good camp, really good summer, and all of those things. And I got put on full scholarship the Saturday before school started, so I didn't have to go home. And then we open at Michigan that year, and I get to be a part of the greatest upset in college football history. And we go on to win our third consecutive national championship. Started a playoff game that year, caught a few passes from Trey. So just that was Trey's senior year. Just special to be on the same team, to get that experience together, and to continue to win a few championships on the next level.
Man, I have not heard some of those names in a long time that you brought up with the Freddie and Ronaldo and Jamar, man. We had some really good players. Now, I do want you to kind of explain to Phillip, because they don't believe I was a pretty decent player.
Oh, he was a dude, man. He was a dude.
I never said that.
So we called him.
Let's be very clear.
We called
Anybody
him
that plays in a program that wins 4 state championships and goes to D1, there's a little bit of something there, right?
Well, what's great about it, Matt was a smart player, and he played quarterback. He's got the frame for a quarterback, and he had a great arm. He was a baseball player too, but there were some guys in front of him, man, that were, Willie Corn was parade All-American, and went to Clemson out of high school, had a few shoulder injuries, and so he didn't quite peak the way he had desired and the way we all thought he would, and because of some injuries. But man, Matt played behind some dudes, but he was a smart player, and like, hey, he's 6'5". He's going to be a headache somewhere. And so he played a lot of slot, played was it our Y position? Yeah, played our Y position, a lot of passes across the middle, but also I remember us putting in plays that we hadn't ran for Matt because of his size, his frame, great hands. Man, just had a really great senior season. And the long snapper, so you can't throw the long snapper. You can't leave that out, man. If you want to, you go learn how to be a long snapper. You might play football for a long time.
That's true. Lee Bryce was a long snapper, country singer at Clemson.
Yeah, man.
Crazy.
Man, this wasn't supposed to turn in to a show about me, but I appreciate that, man. I appreciate the praise. Man, it's been a long time. I'm just trying to pour that into our young people now through coaching, man. And but it was flashbacks, man. But so, moving into some next questions here, like being part of the championships in high school and in college, and like you mentioned, one of the biggest upsets in college football history. Like, In your opinion, what separates good teams from championship teams?
It's a really good question. There could be a lot of stuff to unpack there. Um, Man, I think it ends up coming down to what you're willing to give up. I think it comes down to having a desire to sacrifice for something greater. You said a word in there. You were a part of teams, you know, and there's a lot of I was a scout team player on a national championship team. I started a playoff game on a national championship team. I was a 2-year starter on Southern Conference championship teams, and you the one that was most rewarding to me, I think, was the year I played scout team, man. Like it was '06. I went up against these guys every day, and there was just a love for each other because everybody was sacrificing towards something greater. Like, hey, we can be something. I can't be this on my own, but we can be this together if we commit, if we sacrifice, if we develop the trust. I've never seen a championship team without trust. I think trust is greater than talent. I think when you have trust and respect and a brotherhood that is willing to lay it on the line for each other, then everything else. They have fun with each other. I think you cut up in the locker room when teams hang out in the locker room, and teams go out to do stuff when they don't have to for fun with each other. Then you develop a bond that just translates onto the field. Yeah, but man, I think to answer your question, just hey, realizing that I want to sacrifice for something greater that I can't achieve on my own. I think that's you got to have that willingness and a resolve about it to go and really not let your spirit be broken, because I think you you got to go out there and break the opposition spirit. You can always get the victory if you don't let your spirit be broken and you don't have any quit in you.
I love that, man. And that's, kind of the same way. I mean, Blake, you played under Coach Bentley and some legendary coaches, so like what it's supposed to look like. And those are my mentors and the way we try to do things here. So I know exactly what you're saying and the way that we try to implement it into our program as well. Phillip?
Yeah, you said something there that reminded me of a quote that I just put up the other day. It says, "Victory is always obtainable for the one that's willing to keep fighting."
Yeah.
And that's such what you just said is I'm gonna have to take that back to my kids, man. That sacrifice. It takes a lot to get to where you were at, where you've gotten to, and to achieve what you've done. He's told me a little bit about your story, but hearing it from you is absolutely incredible so
Mhm.
far. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. But to the next question, what did football teach you that still shows up in your life today?
Man, I think several things. One, it's not about me. You know, I remember, Matt, my mom, she's a fireball. I remember if I came home and complained about something, she'd be like, "Why are you telling me about it? Go work harder," you know? And so I think I learned it wasn't about me. I learned how not to cry when things don't go my way, um, and to be a part of something bigger than myself, and you mentioned Coach Bentley. I was thinking belief is a big part. There has to be brotherhood. There has to be belief. There has to be willingness to have somebody's back. But you gotta believe that that Michigan game. I tell people this. I we were in map drills when we found out. Then scheduling sometimes happened a little bit. We were in map drills in February, and we found out we were playing Michigan that year. And our seniors always talked at the end of our winter gym, and every single one of them talked about we're going to go beat Michigan. Like, we're the two-time defending national championship champions on our level. They're number 5 in the nation. Mike Hart coming back, Chad Henne, Jake Long, Sean Crable. They got some dudes, man, and we're in there talking about we're about to go beat these guys. And so we just had that kind of mindset. And I remember the Friday night in a closed door team meeting, players only, a dude who was a clown, just a jokester. Everybody on the team loved him. And I think it's the only time I ever heard him talk in a team meeting. But he says, "Boys, I know I'm normally joking around, but we really about to beat these boys tomorrow." And for me, that's when I said, "Oh, we about to win," you know. And like I knew that we were about to go and put on that show. But I think that that belief, that brotherhood, and then on a personal level, man, those guys at App State, they were really generous toward me. I finished my first semester on academic probation. I had a 1.06 GPA as a walk-on
Nice.
who they were given a chance. So they made me one, my dad said, "Don't even go back. Like you've done screwed this up." But I went back. I had to work out at 5 a.m. every all 4 days a week for that semester for them to give me a chance, right? But I had a pastor who came, my pastor in college, he said, "Man," he quoted a scripture to me. He said, it's Ecclesiastes 11:4-6. He said, "Just like you don't know where the wind comes from or how bones are formed in the womb of a pregnant woman, so you don't know the activity of God who who works all things." And he says, "So sow your seed in the morning and again in the evening, because you don't know if your morning sowing or your evening sowing or both of them alike will bring the increase." And so he just challenged me. He's like, "Man, if you're going to be a follower of Christ, you should have excellence in the classroom. If you're going to be a follower of Christ, you should have excellence in your pursuit on the field." And man, it clicked for me. And I said that day is in January. And I said, I'm gonna live like God is doing it. I'm gonna sow. I don't care. I don't care if I get a full scholarship at the end of this thing. I don't care if I have to pack my bags and move back home and face the music. But I'm not going to have that happen and say I didn't give it everything I had to give it a chance. If I get the scholarship, if I don't, I'll be proud that I entrusted it to God and said I'm going to give it everything I got in the morning and the evening, and I can live with that. And so I don't always have a say on what the fruitfulness looks like, but I always get to say what the sowing looks like. And it's taught me in all of my life the secret of source. You know, if God is at work, it don't matter what it looks like. And if I'm trusting him and he's leading me this way and I'm giving my all of my heart into it, then I'm going to learn him no matter how this thing plays out. And I'm going to get to represent him and display his excellence in how I'm living and going about my business, no matter what the results yield.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
And you probably remember this from back in the day, but the old saying, good things happen to good people that work hard to
Yeah,
get
man,
things
that's
right.
a Coach Bentleyism right there.
I still use it to this day.
Yeah.
But so as we continue on here, man, so you talked a little bit about it there. How did your relationship with God evolve during your football career? But the second part of that was, what led you from football into the ministry?
Man, I sensed a call to ministry when I was a young kid, man, but I didn't take it seriously, honestly. Coach Bentley, my junior year of high school, he said, "Blake, why don't you start an FCA here at Burns High School?" And he said, "I'll sponsor it. I'll be here, to support." But really, he placed that demand on me. He recognized something. He saw me as a leader. You know, I think just to honor him, I don't know if you remember this at our senior banquet, Matt. Somebody who started a game in high school only because somebody got injured, and had 13 catches in his high school football career. He's recognized me in our banquet that year, and he says, "Blake Elder's walking on to Appalachian State. He's going to earn a full scholarship. He's going to become a starter, and he's going to be a captain on that football team." There's no evidence in my history that said he just saw that in me, and he instilled that belief in me. And I went on to do all of those things. I was a captain of the team. I was a starter and earned a full scholarship. And so he spoke that in a room full of 500 people, and I borrowed that belief, man. And I think those are the types of things that started to start, and he believed in me and my faith. He saw something in me spiritually. And I started to do that. And then when I was 17, I was just worshiping in my basement. I was saved, felt like I had a call, but man, I had just the presence of the Lord fell on me. I'm singing "Here I Am" to worship down in the basement of that old house, um, and the presence of the Lord just, man, surrounded me. And ever since then, I've been trying to pursue it, right? And haven't done it perfectly. Had a lot of trip ups, a lot of things I've had to work through. And then I had a pastor who brought me under his wing in college. We had a football Bible study that I helped lead all the way through college. And then I had opportunities to speak in churches, at youth events, at praise festivals, all of those things. And I started to develop that. And then I think I started to get more of a honed personal vision as I, graduated college and started to see, man, what this thing might look like, or what the ministry he might have for me. And then I've just had doors. My wife and I have a phrase. I'll sum it up this way. My wife and I have a phrase that we say: if God's called us to do it, He's called us to do it everywhere we go. It's not a position, it's a way that we live our life. And I don't care if you put me in, if I'm working a fast food counter, man, I don't care where you put me. I'm going to talk about Jesus, because it's not something that preachers do. It's something that people that love him do. And people that love him are people that know they're loved by him. And so once you know how much you're loved by him, you can't help but talk about it. You can't help, tell people about it. It's the thing that's changed my life and made the difference. And so, if I'm a guidance counselor and a football coach at a high school, if I'm a strength and conditioning coach at a college, if I'm a pastor, if I'm working as a entry level employee somewhere, I don't care. I'm gonna be talking about Jesus and what he's done for me.
Man, that's powerful stuff, and it kind of leads directly into the next thing I had. Like, what was the moment like when you knew you were called to plant a church?
Hmm. Man, I thought I was called to plant in 2009. Like I remember I wrote it down, what the Lord was showing me, just kind of, and it was general, right? And then just the Lord over the years started to hone that in. And I'm thankful for the process. Like I have a phrase that I say a lot: full is greater than fast. Like I think sometimes we need to have an urgency towards moving towards what God called us to, but our success measures sometimes can be really way off. I'm 37 now. We planted the church 6 months ago. I've had other pastorate positions that I've done, and I got to learn by being in the field. There's sometimes you get to learn just by somebody giving you an opportunity, and I had that opportunity, and walking that out, like the Lord starts to color out some things. I like to compare it to Joseph a little bit. Like he had a dream when he was young, but he was 44 when it came to pass. Um, all he learned to do was, man, he was the Bible describes him multiple times. He that Joseph, they could tell that God was with him, and that all he did was he prospered. So he was a man of character. Like what a testimony if somebody can look at your life and say, man, God's with him. If he's getting sold into a pit by his brothers, if he's in jail and serving there, if he's in Potiphar's house, or man, there's something about God's with him. Like I want to be known like that. Like I want to have that character. And so I remember just praying, God, develop the character in me for the doors you want to open for me. And when I was younger, kind of it's like a Kobe Bryantism. I saw an interview with him once where he was like, man, when I was young, I want to be the best to ever play. But like the last year of his career, there's an interview and he says, man, I was naive. Now I just want to do what the best do daily, you know? And I think that mindset is the difference. Like I want to do what the best do daily. Like I don't care about the ambition. I don't care about the platform. Like I don't care what level it's on. Like I just want to be devoted, pursuing it with all my heart. Um, he had two gifts that he used. He could manage well. He can interpret dreams. Um, and while he's going and getting um, he's getting lied about and accused and all this stuff. He never loses his heart for his father and his brothers, because the dream was more about how God wanted to preserve them than it was how God wanted to elevate Joseph, you know. And so it ends up not only God fulfilling his dream, but God using him to feed the entire world in a time of famine. We can't even fathom what God really wants to do. But if we can offer our character, our gifts, our passion, and whatever small or present opportunity comes, God's going to bring that thing to reality. And that's what I've seen in my life. He's honed it. He's developed me. And now, we had a crossroads in ministry in 2020. We were living in Ohio and pastoring in Wayne, Michigan, right outside of Detroit. And we had to make some tough decisions, my wife and I. And honestly, I left that day and I said, man, I don't know if I'll ever plant a church or pastor again. And but God brought that thing around, and he used another church who was offering me a ministry role, and we were in the interview process, and God just brought up that it was like something that lived in me. I didn't come up with it. We had a name. We wrote out a vision in 2019 that God gave us, and we just picked that thing back up and we started moving towards it. And man, God's blessed it. We're 6 months in. God's been blessing it, and just we're seeing amazing things happen and new relationships forming. Really, we got a heart for people that are scattered in life or in faith. And we think this is the church's hour, man. The name of the church is Prevailing Church. The promise in Matthew 16 at Peter's confession was, upon this rock, I will build my church. Upon what rock? The confession of who Christ is and as he's revealed himself to be. He says, I will build this church and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. And as a matter of fact, not only whatever comes out of hell is not going to prevail, but you're going to be able to release into the earth through your witness. You're going to have the keys of the kingdom to loose the kingdom of God and the love of God on the earth and demonstrate it around you. And so that's our heart, man. We want to help people build their life on who Christ is, nothing more, nothing less. And then Christ promises to build his church, people that he's called out. And so now my life is about, I want to build people, man. I want to build people with the love of Christ wherever you find them, whatever they look like, whatever they're going through, and to create an environment where they can become everything Christ has intended them to be.
Man, I love it. We've talked and shared so many Kobe quotes and Kobe
Oh
stories.
yeah.
When you mentioned that one, it gave me chills because of my current situation and my current profession and my job. Like I've had those same thoughts. Like I want to be the best. I want to be a national championship coach. I want to be Nick Saban, right?
Yeah.
But when you said that, it hit me. It's like, man, I just need to do what the best do daily,
Yeah.
right? And I love that quote, man. That was awesome.
It's a powerful, he's got that mentality. That's what everybody loves, right? And I think that's what mindset is. The ultimate champion, Jesus, man, he resolutely turned his face towards Jerusalem. You know, we got the resurrection Sundays coming up, man, just a couple of weeks. And the prophet said he set his face like flint, like he was about to set a fire, and he said, what should I do? Back away from this hour? No, for this purpose I've come to this hour, glorify your name. And he laid his life down. I think that's what the best do daily. I think we lay our life down for Christ and those that he's put in our charge. That's what we think the church or being a Christian, having influence is about solving these huge problems all over the world, or we reach way beyond our scope of authority when God's put people in our influence within our reach daily, that we miss the opportunity that really the one who has authority is the one who can lay her life down for the benefit and the of another and the glory of God to come to their life. And I think that's what the best do daily, and it plays out differently based off the field and, like you said, the sphere that we're in. And there's, of course, a lot of things you could add to that, but uh, it boils down to me, like, I want to empty myself today. I want to lay myself down because Christ showed me how to do that.
Yeah, that's all of that. All of that is all I can say. And Kobe's an influence on everybody. My son wears 24 for
Yeah,
the and he plays soccer and baseball, and then we live by Kobe's or try to live by Kobe's mentality. Obviously, you got to be on a different level to get to his mindset. But you said something there that even for me in my life, you have to kind of die daily. And I said to myself when I decided to come back to the
mm,
Lord. I lived really hard for the devil for 30 years. So I'm going to bring that same energy and that same desire for the Lord.
that's
And
right.
and I don't think it's you don't have to go out there and hold up poster boards and things like that. I think I can just show people with what I do daily and try to do what the best do. I've had really good influences in my life, really good people around me. And Matt and I have talked about this. It's not about titles anymore. It's not about money anymore. It's about being happy, doing what the Lord calls you to do, and trying to help people get to heaven. My buddy has a saying, Ricky Malloy, called "Make Heaven Crowded" (MHC),
Yeah,
and that's what we're trying to do. Do everything we can daily to make heaven crowded. But the next question, man, is a good one. I think for you because you've obviously been able to do this. I mean, you've felt pressure in big games. You've performed in big games, and you had faith. So how do athletes balance those three things: faith, pressure, and performance?
man, pressure and performance. Well, I'll start with faith. Um, Faith is developed in pressure. You know, what hasn't been tested can't be trusted. You know, and so what Peter says that the testing of your faith, even though you go through fire, it's going to bring about the gold, the pure gold of your faith, right? So it's going to reveal the quality of your faith when you go through pressure. The challenge is, the difference is, um, when you have an expectation of performance. So when I teach faith, I think this way. I teach it this way. Faith is the power to believe. You have been given, every person has been given a measure of faith. So it's like if I gave you a measure of flour, you could do with it whatever you wanted to do with it. You could bake a cake, you could waste it, you could play a prank and, throw it in somebody's dorm room and, squirt water in there too and it get all over the place. You could do whatever, you can make homemade biscuits, whatever you want to do with it. But you get to choose and you get to choose what you do with the power to believe. And faith is not a piece of the pie. Like, we compartmentalize it sometimes. We say we got faith here, we got athletics here, we got finances here, our career here, our family here, and we just make them all different pieces of the pie. Well, I think faith produces an integrated life. That faith is the central ingredient to the pie. So if I say I believe in Christ, you should be able to see it in every facet of my life when I'm under pressure and when I need to perform. As an athlete, man, you do so much preparation to build your confidence in your performance, and the pressure is real. But Matt, I don't know if you had the same thing, but I found myself when I'm playing as a national champion and a conference champion for the Appalachian State Mountaineers, and I'm grading myself in the middle of the game. I know, like I'm not even enjoying the moment. I'm not even enjoying what I'm having the opportunity to do because I'm in this performance mindset. Now, I'm not saying that athletics always produces that. It could probably, sometimes the pressure of it can do that. But I had a tough time breaking away from that in after I finished playing ball, of just judging my performance all the time and miss that, okay, if I look back and I map it out, the highs and the lows of my life, I'm not more because I achieved more. I'm not less because I missed it a couple of times. I became more through all of it. You know, I learned through others. I learned sometimes through hard knocks, but God used it. Now I don't look back and I'm not ashamed of something that happened that while I was going through it, I wish it wouldn't have. Now I'm thankful I did because of what I learned from going through it, what I learned of God, what he showed me about myself, how he freed me up. So I'm sharing that to say, like, the connection is faith is more focused on personhood than it is on my performance. It's more focused on who I'm becoming. And so every pressure that I face now as a grown man, I got two boys, I got to feed their mouths, man. Like, I'm taking a step of faith. We're leaving our job making six figures and with no salary. And
That's
we
faith.
faith, man, with two kids that's under 4. And now we've got a third one on the way. And I think that's pressure, man. That financial pressure. I looked at my wife the September of 24 and I said, man, everything in our life right now is saying no, but the Lord is saying yes. And she said, I'm not attached to any of this. Let's go for it. And I'm like, okay, man, let's go. You know? And so, and it's kind of that same thing. Now, if we would have fell flat on our face, still, we're 6 months in. If we were to fall flat on our face, I believe we're going to meet the faithfulness of God. If it goes better than we ever imagined, it will be because we met the faithfulness of God, you know? And so I think at the end of the day, on my best performing days, still it's a team win. On my best performing days, still it wouldn't be enough if it wasn't for the Lord, you know? And so now with that mindset, that's kind of how I handle it. If I knew now if I knew then what I know now about that, I would have handled the pressure. I would have enjoyed the moment, you know? I would have enjoyed the moment a lot more. I wouldn't have, I wouldn't have, I wouldn't have maybe been so bent out on my just my performance and how I'd graded out in the film sessions. I would have been just locked into the opportunity to play this game that I love, to go for something great and to be to be on the field, man. You know, and I don't know if that answers it adequately, but man,
Oh yeah.
I think that integrated life, and you're gonna have those pressures because adversity. This is the last thing. I know I'm rambling, guys. I don't want to, but this is the last thing I'll say. Um, Pressure not only reveals what's in you, it reveals what you think is in you, you know? And so pressure comes when hot air and cold air collide, when opposites collide, you know, when our good meets our bad, there's pressure, right? Where a demand and a supply don't match up, that's pressure, you know? And I think in those moments it's important to have relationships that you can hear from. I think when it gets hot, when it gets tough, one, you got to be able to share those pressures with somebody that you trust, and also let people speak into that with you. Um, otherwise you'll keep it inside and you'll explode, you know. I've seen that. That's what anxiety means. Anxiety means to be broken into pieces, you know. Peace, PACE, means that the pieces have been put back together, you know. And so I think anxiety and pressures are a part of life. People really don't mind difficulty. What they mind is not being necessary. And that has to do with personhood. And my faith tells me that regardless of how I perform, that I'm valuable to God as a person. Now, I don't want to be somebody who's just moping around and saying that and then like not do anything well, because I think excellence should come through our life. But it's more of something that comes out because of what God's done in us, more than it is us striving and straining for just putting on a good show.
I love that, man. We got a couple more and then we'll let you run, man. But
Yeah,
my co-host here, Phillip, he always says that we want to reach the broken. We want to make an introduction to Christ, you know,
yeah,
for that person that is afraid or nervous or whatever you want to call it, to go to a church or reach out to a pastor. Maybe they're scrolling Facebook and they see us, right? So that leads me into this question is, you know, what advice would you give someone struggling to find their purpose?
Yeah. You know, I think um, environments are important. And I think the church would do well sometimes to give people space to figure stuff out. You know, sometimes when they walk in our doors, we're jumping for them to take the next step and take the next step and take the next step. And I think everybody should take the next step. I think sometimes we just need to let people find themselves in a new environment, you know. Um, and environment matters, you know. If you can, the difference for me, Matt, if I, as I'm saying this, if I wouldn't have been at Burns High School, I wouldn't have played at Appalachian State, you know, because an environment and an expectation, there was the greatest place to be is where somebody expects something good for your life. The No matter, you know, what those standards are, when there's an expectation for good. Actually, I had a conversation with Coach Batson, who just retired from Clemson a little while back. And I picked his brain one time when I got to go sit with him. And I said, "What's changed over your career in coaching?" He said, "I don't think the quality of kids have changed. I think our expectations have. And and we've cheated them because of that." I think we do the same thing with people, you know, and I think it's okay to have questions in life. I think it's okay to be searching. I think it's okay to have inquiry. I think it's okay to say, I don't know. And I think it's okay to let people do that and discover that and maybe build a relationship. Because, you know, at the end of the day, I'll share two illustrations. I had a friend of mine, we grabbed lunch a little while back. And he told me, he said, "Man, I know that God is for me, but I don't know if my family is for me, and I don't know if anybody else in my circle is for me." It's like, I can do something about that. You know, like if I don't do anything about anything else, I can be somebody who's for what God wants to do in his life. And I think if we get back to, you know, we say the church needs to have all this authority, and well, if the church gets her authority back to demonstrate the love of God through the way that we serve people, the way we receive people, ministries receptivity is relationship. Relationship is the ability to be there. Like how we show up into our everyday life. You know, we gather as a church because that's how God builds us. That's how he grows us. But man, we can enter the presence of God everywhere we go. I'll say it this way. For the person, when you go to church, you know, sometimes there's a perception of it. You know, these people have it together, they figured it out, or, you know, they're in a different class now because, right? But really, it's I do this exercise. I don't know if you guys do it, but sometimes I think, man, what I remember what it was like to be lost or what it was like in my broken moments. And man, I don't let that leave me. I don't let it leave me where there's nothing beyond the redemptive power of God, you know, that God can redeem anything no matter how low it gets, no matter how far away you've drifted, no matter how mad you've gotten at God, you know, no matter how much you've screwed it up. Nothing is beyond the redemptive power of God. And I'll share this story. I'll share it quickly. Last week we had a bearded dragon show up in our yard. So we don't have any pets. We got two little boys that we're trying to corral, you know. And so this bearded dragon shows up. It's freezing outside, and me and my oldest find it. He's 4 now, and we're just saying, man, I'm like, Madison, don't go near it. I don't know what it is yet. I think it's somebody's pet. You know, it was pretty big. And he's like, we got to tell mom. And so he tells my wife, and she's like, oh my goodness, what are we gonna do? This thing's gonna get in the house. Blake, you got to do something. You got to do something. You got to do something about this. It's like, I think it's somebody's pet. Like it's not like a, you know, natural species around this area. So I think it's somebody's pet. I'm not going to go mess with it. I don't want to bring it inside. So we put it on like our neighborhood Facebook app, our Facebook page. We put it on our Ring app. And then all these people are like, you've got to get it. It's not going to survive this night. It's too cold. Like, you got to bring it inside. You got it, And so, and then all these people ended up coming by our house, and they're like, we're going to find the beard, because it now, like, we couldn't find it anymore. It had like been going around in a mulch, and we didn't see, we couldn't find where it was at. And so all these people start coming to look for it. And then finally, a guy who has two bearded dragons himself, he comes and he digs. He is a stranger digging through the mulch in our yard, and he digs under a bush because the bearded dragon had buried itself in a bush, and it was just going to die there. But this dude, because he knew the creature, and he had two of them, and he knew what it needed, he knew the nature of it, he knew where to find it. And I think that's what we need to get back to. We hide the parts of our story. I love how you guys open it up saying, man, we were struggling through some of the same things, and God connected us, and then we just started sharpening each other, Like we think, and we think that those moments that we weren't at our best, that those are the moments we need to hide. No, those are the moments that help us find people when they're looking for God and don't know where to go. And I think I would encourage somebody that don't pay attention to the religious facade. There's some real people, Christ followers out there that you can show up to and be real with, and they'll love you through it. And also, for us as believers, like, we got to remember to know where to find people. And if we'll do that for a bearded dragon, why wouldn't we do that for a soul that is in despair and dark place and scattered in life? And man, I remember what it's like to be trying to figure this thing out, life out, faith out. And I think sometimes we just got to dig a little bit to find people. And that Christ still sees, he still sees them. He still loves them. He sees and he knows, and yet he still comes. There's just not a love like that. That's why I can't stop talking about him, because he's seen it all and he knows it all about me, and he still reached. He's still mindful of me,
Man,
And
I
that's
love it. That is a great depiction there, trying to find the bearded dragon. And
Who's the bearded dragon?
And
hey,
that's,
man,
I'd say a lot of times that I think as a church, we got to stop expecting people to show up saved,
Yeah,
right? When we're going to church, we're going to find something. Like I didn't wake up one day saved and said, okay, now let me go find a church, right?
yeah,
I was trying to go to church to find what I was looking for, and a lot of times you get stopped at the door because you aren't living right, or you're in the bars, or you're doing this, and you
yeah,
kind of get ostracized a little bit. And I think that's what I was telling Matt. For me and him with this platform, there's a song written by Second Chance Ministries. It's called "Give Me the Your Kind."
yeah,
Give me the broken, give me the weary, give me the ones that's been left behind. That's the
yeah,
ones that we want to reach, man, because that's the ones that need God. That's the ones that need guidance. For me, for the longest time, I was afraid to serve God. I was like, this isn't cool. This isn't going to be right. And then you struggle with that, and you just need some help. And it's like, well, nah, you can't come here. You're just going to be in Oslo's on Friday night getting drunk again, so you can't come here. So
yeah.
those are great words. The bearded dragon. I got to remember that. That's awesome.
We're all working it out, right? Like,
Yeah,
we're all working
absolutely.
it out, and God's at work with us. None of us, we don't always catch people in a season or moment, a snapshot in life that's the best representation of who they are or everything they could be, you know? And I think that's the value of relationship. And the church, it's people, man. Like, I'm I am called out and into every day of my life. You guys are. And I think that's what it is. It's not a country club. It's not. We had a person come to our church. Man, this is crazy. We had a person come to our church who's, I don't think's ever been in the church, because she asked me, how much do I have to pay to be a member here? You
Hmm.
know, like, those are some of the perceptions that are out there. And I think if we say, hey, before we want, you know, to get anything from you, let's give something to you. And I think it's a relationship.
Correct.
Every good thing in my life has come because somebody took time to stop. I think it happens person to person, man. I think, you know, it's not program upon program, it's person to person. And if we can just get back, we may just be one conversation away, one connection away from everything God has for us. And if we're mindful of that, I think we've got a chance to see God do some incredible things that we never thought possible. Think about the conversations you guys have had on here and the things that are happening through that. Just one conversation might be the key that unlocks somebody's heart to say, get their path, you know, get their path opened up on the right track.
We're trying to reach one person. Isn't that what we said at breakfast that day? If we
The
can
first
reach one
day we
person.
started, we wanted to try to reach one person, man, and it God blessed it and blew it up. But man, that's awesome. So last two questions, and this one's kind of hard for me at times because it depends on where I'm at in my season, in my life, what's going on. But what's the one scripture that has kind of guided you, that has been there through multiple seasons, like your favorite verse, your favorite scripture?
Okay, my favorite passage, my favorite book in the Bible is the book of John. My favorite passage of scripture is probably John chapter 1, and then John 13 through 17. But I'm going to pick a different one for tonight. I'm going to pick up one that's been resonating with me recently. It's from 1 Samuel, and it's when Jonathan shot the arrows to David because it wasn't safe for him to be at Saul's table. And David goes on the run, and he goes to the priest, and he asks for the bread of the presence. And the priest gives him the bread of the presence. David says, this is no ordinary journey, you know. And he takes the bread of the presence and eats it. And then he says, do you have a weapon here? And the priest says, I only have the sword of Goliath. And David said, give it to me, for there is nothing like it, you know. And the reason that one's been sticking with me recently, because he didn't show up to the battle with Goliath with it. He left the battle. And now it's a showcase in the priest, like the bread of the presence is there and the sword of Goliath is there, pointing to the victory of God. You know, he says, give it to me. There's nothing like it. And I think he said that because it reminded him that he didn't defeat Goliath with a sling and stones. He didn't defeat Goliath even with his own sword. He defeated him with a revelation. The God who delivered me from the bear and the lion will give this uncircumcised Philistine into my hands, you know? And so I think that's what it's been resonating with me, because I want to hold fast my confession to who God is, and to be reminded of the victories that he's won for me, and give it to me. There's just nothing like it. There's just nothing like, we hold his revelation, you know, the way he's revealed himself, and it's recorded. We hold it and we can dive into it. Like, I want to grab a hold of that thing and just go and see what God wants to do with it. And then, you know, the priest ends up dying, but he carries the sword and he carries the revelation. And so it's also a picture of how, you know, Jesus came as our great high priest, and he laid down his life for us so that he can give us a sword of victory to carry everywhere we go every day. And so I'm just trying to, you know, I want to live in his victory. I want, you know, it's that high performer in me. I was saying it this past week, man, like through the life of the church, man, I have so far, like I would on Sunday mornings, I would come in at 2 a.m. and I would pray, and not to do my message, but I would just like be getting my mind right, my heart back right. Just kind of like you get your mind right before a football game, and just get my mind right, my heart right, and praying. And certainly there's a spiritual aspect of that from the weight of it. But man, I was just last week, I just felt like the Lord said, I've already, like, that's not what's going to win the victory. I've already won the victory. I just need you to rest in it. That part is what's hard for, former athletes is, and I think athletic performance is so much better now with the way we create rest for our athletes and recovery. But I think sometimes we get so busy in our life and we think we have to do all this activity to please God. Now we need to rest in His victory and then just do what He says. Do what He says today. And so, man, that's what that passage represents to me. Grab a hold of who God is, be reminded of the victories He's given you, and keep going forward because of what He's done for you.
I love it, man. Last question we kind of like to always end with. So on Armor Up Athletics, it was kind of based off of Ephesians 6:11, right?
Yeah.
Put on the full armor of God to protect yourself against the devil's evil plans. We like to ask our guests, what do you do to armor up daily? And you mentioned
Yeah.
some of it in the past in conversations tonight, but what do you do to armor up daily?
Yeah, I think it's a lifestyle, I think it's a lifestyle. I think it's a mindset. But you look at how it starts, be strong in the strength of the Lord and the power of His might, you know. And so first I'm going to be relying on His power. I'm going to be dependent is what that means. And so for me, it's every day I'm dependent. Like it's a dependency that is desperate. Like, God, you are my source. God, I need you today. God, I'm in over my head. I know you'll help me. You know, this is more than I thought it would be. I make it more than it needs to be. Lord, I need you to help me. You know, on my days where I'm trying to rest, my mind just wants to pick it up. It's like you can think ball all the time. You can be, seeing the script and all of that. It's the same way, when you have something that's compelling in your life that you're pursuing. And man, I just find myself, Lord, I need you to show me how to put it down. I know it can go on without me. Like, my heart is for people that I'm pastoring. My heart is, I got to build this next message. My heart is create room for people. My heart is to reach people. Well, sometimes I just need to put it down and say, Lord, it can go on without me. I'm dependent on you today. And I may feel like I'm behind on a lot of things in life, but Lord, I'm dependent on you. I think that is the greatest place and access of victory that we can have, man. When we just say, I can't do it without you. In the moments where we think we can do it under our own power, no, stand firm in the strength of the Lord and in the power of His might. And then He gives you the armor. It's His salvation you wear on His head. It's His righteousness that you wear to protect your heart. It's His sandals that you wear. John the Baptist said, I am not fit to untie His sandals. Well, Jesus gives us the gospel of peace, to put on our feet. And so, like, all the sword of the Spirit and the shield of faith, like those are things that He gives us so that we can wield victory. But we have to be dependent on Him, and not on the armor of this world, not on what everybody says. This is how you do it. You got to do it the way the Lord showed you, man. If you're going to win the battle with a sling and a stone, then win it with a sling and a stone. You can't put Saul's armor on and go try to win it. You can't wear the armor of the world. Stand firm in the strength of the Lord. Be dependent on Him, and He'll give you the strength. He will give you the victory.
Man, you just broke down Ephesians 6:11 for everybody a lot better than we can, so we appreciate that.
I love that passage. The book of Ephesians is a great There you go.
Yes. Hey, text me your address. We'll get you some bands, and I'm gonna send you a T-shirt as well with the
Let's
Shield
go,
of Faith
man.
on it.
Yes, sir.
But Blake, we appreciate you coming on tonight, man, sharing with us. It's good to see you again. It's been a long time, and I'm proud of what you're doing and the way you're doing it. Proud of everything. I appreciate the kind words, but man, you are awesome. And I appreciate the kind words about football, but this is you, baby. You turned it on tonight, so we appreciate that.
Man, thank y'all for having me. It's a blessing. I've been glad we got to connect a little while back and just tracking with what's going on. Love what's happening with it, and just want to say keep excelling, man.
Yes, sir. Real quick before you go, how can people keep up with you, your
Yep.
ministry, your church?
Yeah, so we have a website. It's prevailing.church. Um, it's our Instagram handle. We're on Facebook as well. You can track with us there, or you can track with me on Instagram. It's J Blake Elder, just the letter J Blake Elder, and then Blake Elder on Facebook. Normally connect there. If you want to learn more about the ministry too, Blake at prevailing.church. Just shoot me an email, and love to connect with anyone. And really, our heart is, if we can be a resource to help somebody, support somebody while they figure out the way God's leading them, that's what we want to do.
I just followed you on Instagram. So
Let's go.
we'll get on Facebook on our Armor Up page, and we'll be sure to share you there. And
Okay.
we'll anything that we see, I try to share people's messages and faith and things like that. But I just want to say personally, just hearing your message live, what a blessing it's been for me tonight. I always love when we bring people on here, and everybody that we brought has brought a special message. But yours tonight really kind of resonates with me. It's always God's timing and certain things that I've been dealing with. I needed to hear those words, and that's the way God works, man.
Yeah.
Matt shot me a text, and he's like, "Hey, I think I can get Blake on the show." And at first, he said, "I'm like, well, who's Blake?" And then he's like, the App State national champion. I'm like, "Oh yes, we love Natties and Jesus. Let's go. Let's get him on here."
We might have to run it back again sometime soon.
So I started researching a little bit, and again, I know we're running out of time here, but there was one thing I wanted to ad lib off of, and it's not so much Jesus as I want if you can put it in just a little bit of context. What was it like, one, walking on the field in Michigan in the big house, and then
So
two,
yeah,
walking out of the big house with a dub?
man, it's really cool. You get to play in some really cool places. Michigan, of course, is just a historic place. But you drive in, and it's really not that intimidating because from the outside, because it's a bowl, and it kind of fans out. It's not like these big, tall SEC stadiums, but it is 110,000 people. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? And so your locker room is at this tunnel, and the visitor locker room's on this side, and their locker room's right here. And so it's right across from each other. Like you open the door, you can see into theirs, they see into yours. And so, the Michigan State and Michigan fights have been happening recently, so they've trying to figure it out. But then for me, like pregame walking down in that tunnel was just thinking like all the guys, that have walked down that tunnel before that played at Michigan or, played at some of the opposing teams, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and just Penn State, just thinking about the history there and how many dudes have walked down this tunnel, and I get to do it today. And then after the game, man, it was just kind of celebration, and people were stunned. We had a dog pile for Corey Lynch, who blocked the field goal, and he couldn't breathe under there. And then we're all just kind of, Trey and I have a picture, just all smiles together because we were both on that team. And then the fun part was getting back to campus that night, though. So goalposts were torn down. One was thrown into the chancellor's property. One was thrown into what it was called Duck Pond. And then the bus turns in up the main street, up River Street, on campus. And there's just thousands of students who are sprinting the street all the way back to the stadium. And then there's thousands up there waiting for us. And
Wow.
It was just a really cool all the way around experience. Now, man, it's man, that was 2007. So we're getting close to being 20 years away. It
And
doesn't feel like a long time.
Sports Center still shares it from time to time. I actually watched that game. It was unreal that I'm talking to you and you played in it, but I remember watching that game and was like,
Yeah.
wow, that just happened.
The thing that's even, for this is just I think this is just the power of relationships. But Matt and Cam Miller played for Presbyterian College. Coach Bentley was the head coach there. Um, I was a redshirt sophomore, and they came up and played. And I still have the picture of us after that game because the relationships, man. I think, you know, you I don't remember necessarily plays or those things, but I remember the dudes, and you getting from high school, from college. I think those are the things that are special because you had people that sacrificed with you and the bonds when you go through pain together and you get to experience some championships. That's when it's special. So the value of relationships are not just in the Michigan moments, they're when you are puking on the sprints that you're doing and all of those things together. So if you get relationships that can go through some stuff with you and celebrate the victories, you got something special.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. I think Blake didn't do it justice when he described the tunnel because when I was at Vanderbilt, we played at the Big House, my first game of college football. Phillip, you come out, you're shoulder to shoulder. Like the other team's walking in a line, you're
Yeah.
bumping into each other, and there's a lot of trash being talked in that tunnel.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a hallway. It's not a tunnel. Okay. And then two, with the PC App State game, I think the score was 14-7 or 14-14 at halftime. We're playing out of our minds. You guys are playing bad, and you're coming off of national championships. And I guess y'all went in the locker room and had a discussion. Came out and it was final score was like 50-something to 14, and y'all figured it out at halftime. But we thought we were going to pull one of those moments on you guys.
Yeah, yeah.
But thank you, Blake,
That's
man.
awesome.
You spent a lot of time with us, and we certainly appreciate it. I know our fans will appreciate it. We've enjoyed it, man. I love you, dude. Thank you for everything.
Love you too. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Phillip.
Blake, awesome to meet you. Awesome to hear tonight. And you're right. We'll have to run this back at another time because I'm sure there's more you can continue to break down for us. I loved it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ephesians 6:11, yeah, it's the drill. Put on the full armor, stand firm in his will. Armor up, we don't back down. Shield of faith when the world comes around. Sword in my hand, I'm ready to fight. Jesus is the captain leading through the night. Yeah, sports in the spirit, it's a game of endurance. Training in faith, no room for deterrence. Quinn and Phillip, tag team for the kingdom. Breaking down walls till the world can see them. Helmet of salvation, blocking the lies. Built the truth, yeah, I'm suited to rise.